Hey, everybody, welcome to Game Breaking News with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from GiantBomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Oblivion potentially shadow dropping very soon, and the best reviewed game of the year just dropped. It's going to be a good one because we have Emma Fyffe on the show. Emma, how are you doing?
I'm just freaking great. I've got a coffee mug here that really summarizes my entire life, which is that I work hard so my cat can have a better life. We'll see if he chooses to grace us with his presence. I actually do have two cats. I just have one who
One's a
typically,
star.
yeah, Light is the star, and Elle just kind of lurks in the shadows. Speaking of, my husband finally watched Death Note. So he inherited these cats when we moved in together. But they love him. He is their dad. But he he watched Death Note recently and he was like, I feel a little weird about the fact that you named one of our cats Light, who is in fact a serial killer. So,
Well,
you know,
now that fits
fine.
for
No,
cats.
it's an appropriate cat
Yeah.
name.
Cats are like
Yeah.
if serial killers were adorable. Like, that's
Yeah,
exactly what it
exactly,
is. Yeah.
right? Totally, yeah. So
I'm a fan of it.
that's my that that's my summary, and I watched the, season finale of White Lotus, which was a feature length. It was 90 minutes long.
Yeah, opinions are all over the place on that
They
show this
are.
season.
Yes.
I've not watched any White Lotus. Well, maybe one day.
You're
Who
not a White
knows?
Lotus,
I,
you
I'm
oh,
I'm curious, but just out of
okay.
not kind of have not moved it up the queue to be like this is worthy of time right in this moment. It's sort of one of those things where
Sure,
I'm like,
sure. Well,
I'll get around to it one day.
I mean, it finished to make way for, of
Oh yeah,
course, Last of Us is coming back this Sunday, but yeah, it was great. I loved it. It's really wild.
yeah. I've seen like clips, and it looks like a fun show. A lot of actors just chewing on scenery, which I always appreciate.
Yes,
Um,
that is what I like about
Yes.
it.
That seems to be that would be the appeal for me, and it's like they keep building
Mhm.
up, like, guest stars and all these other things. I'm like, "Wait, they're in the show too?" And that is fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's been wild here, in the United States as, tariffs continue to be a problem. We're gonna talk about that in the news,
Oh
but,
boy.
I believe the stock market in a little bit of a free fall here, so yeah, just a fun time. Don't check your 401ks, everybody.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah,
Oh no.
it's yeah, a bad country. That's right. And you know, he's getting some criticism, and his response to that is, "I'm going to make it worse." So it's a fun time. But yeah, video game related still because we still don't know when those Switch 2 pre-orders are going to happen. I'm
Mhm.
hoping we find out this week. Ideally we find out by the 9th, right? Because that's when pre-orders were going to open. Um, and,
Yeah.
and we were going to be able to
That
like,
also
okay.
when these tariffs go into effect.
Yeah, a lot of them do. Yes. Yes, many of them do. Some of them already went into effect over the weekend, I guess. It's
Yeah.
bananas. So I think Nintendo probably knows they need to give an update by then because while they've said, "Hey, we're delaying pre-orders," there are going to be a lot of people who did not follow up that news, like to like keep on top of everything. They just saw pre-orders on the 9th. They'll return on the 9th, and then they won't be able to do it. So I think hopefully they'll have some kind of answer by then. Although it's a moving target because they don't know what's going to happen still. I guess they can assume worst case scenario, in which case
Yeah.
that would mean a huge price increase, likely for the Switch 2, maybe even for the Switch 1. That's where we're at. It's a fun time. Let's explain ourselves here, though. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Breaking News or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Blueprints reviews. Have you paid any attention to Blueprints? Because Emma, I think you're gonna like it.
I have not. What is this?
Well, it's the best reviewed game of the year so far. It's a 91 on OpenCritic last time I checked. I know one
Oh.
of the platforms on Metacritic has like a 94-ish, in that range. It is a solve 'em up. It's a first person solve 'em up. It
Yes.
is a roguelike in that you have okay. you are the this kid goes to a house,
Right.
you've inherited it. There is a play field that you can put you can put different rooms in, and your rooms come from a deck that you build over time. Although you start with a
Okay.
lot of those rooms, and as you go up, you walk into one of the rooms, and if it has doors, you can walk up to the doors, and you can open the door, and then in that moment, you have to
Uh,
draft the next room. It will pick
yep.
three cards randomly, three rooms
Yep.
randomly, and
Yep.
then you are trying to build it in such a way that you can snake your way through this entire house, get to the end, although the
Yep.
goal is much, much, much deeper than that, than it, especially
Sure.
as it first appears. Um, Now, that's the basics,
Mhm.
and it gets much more complicated than that. In that every room has, I'm describing it as it feels like you were living inside of a deck building card roguelike game,
Yeah.
where when you put down a card, now like let's now walk into that card, and there's details within there that matter to other puzzles that relate to other rooms that might help you discover things that are actually outside the house.
Mhm.
Everything sort of builds on top of one another to the point where there are several like huge revelation moments that I had that gave me chills of like, I can't believe I missed this, or I can't believe this is actually going to work. I can't believe I solved it. It's similar to The Witness and
Mhm.
what was it, The Forgotten City, things like that. Just these
Yeah,
games where
Forgotten City.
you're walking around, you are piecing things together, you are coming up with theories about how things work. And now the cool thing about this being a roguelike deck builder is like, okay, I have a theory on how this works. Now that is going to affect my drafting strategy for how I'm going to lay out rooms going forward. I want to get this certain outcome, so I'm going to try to do things in such a way that I can make that outcome the most likely. So it's like now you're actually playing the game in a new way each time you have these new ideas about how things might work. I guess early tips I would give is make sure that you're getting in those front corners of the house so you can
Mhm.
maximize your keys and your gems. Everybody, that's the easy stuff. Because yeah,
How? This is
it's
giving me
impressive.
a little bit of okay, so in the 90s, middle 90s, Clue in the US, was there was a version of it called Cluedo Super Sleuth
Yeah.
where you built the house as you went. And it was
Yeah.
just like
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
it was a more complicated version of Clue where ultimately you were like or Cluedo, whatever, wherever you're from, you know what it is.
Oh yeah.
Where you were basically trying to solve the mystery, but in order to do that, like, you didn't start with evidence in your hand, you were building out the house. Um, I remember really liking it. My quick search of it now seems to be that it's pretty mediocre, but I was 12 maybe when I played 10, 12 when I played this. So, yeah, I mean, it was like it was cool, the conceptually, it was cool to, like, add the exploration element into Clue. It also because you're like building things out as you go and sort of manipulating the way that the house is. It gives me a little bit of a Betrayal at House on the Hill vibes. I don't know if anybody else has played that game. Which these are all, um oh, I see Betrayal at House on the Hill in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Where again you're sort of like building things out. So yeah. Yeah, this sounds very appealing to me, and it's apparently on Game Pass, so here we go.
Yeah, I think Don Cabeza, Jesse in chat is right that there a lot of people are going to try this based on these reviews and bounce off.
Yeah,
But
it
if you,
sounds like it's, pretty hardcore.
yeah, and it's I think the first taste of it is like, okay, so I'm just making these rooms connect to get to this room at the end. I don't care, and it's like, okay, there's you're missing a lot deliberately, the purposefully you're missing a lot because the game wants to like doesn't want to overwhelm you. If you knew
Mhm.
all the things that were in this game when you started it, it would be terrifying. It's like I need to understand what that is now, and it's like no, just wait until maybe after you get credits because I got credits after 45 turns, 45 days, and I'm on day 59 now. And I just in this last run, pieced together one of these key things I discovered 30 runs ago. I'm like, oh, that's what that does. And
Whoa.
now that has led me to a place where I can open up 8 more things. And it's like, okay, where are we going from here? So
Right.
it is definitely a game where if you are into it, you'll know not immediately. You probably should give it some time.
Mhm.
But you'll probably know after about like 5 to 10 runs, I would say, which isn't too much time. And again, like you
No,
said,
5 to 10 is nothing.
I think it's on Game Pass. I think it's on PlayStation Plus as well. I think it's
Oh,
on
wow, that's cool.
multiple places. Yeah. But yeah, like Sean's like, I don't have that kind of time. Like, yeah, Sean bounced off, and it's like, it just he said it's like the kinds of things he does in other games to get to the stuff that he likes. And for me, it's like, oh, this is
This
all the
is the
stuff,
stuff I like. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
for me, it's like the games I get to play in my own head are the things that I like the best. A lot of times,
Totally.
I like a lot of different kinds of games, Emma, but I especially like a
Yeah,
game that is here's a bunch of puzzles or a bunch of things you have to think about. You have to craft theories. And he likes other kinds of card games that are more competitive and things like that. So that's where he gets that stuff
sure.
from. And I think a lot of people will like be like, actually, this is the kind of stuff I don't like about deck builders or I don't like about roguelikes. And all of that
Mhm.
stuff is still here for the most part. There are some permanent
Sure,
upgrades. There are some elements to the deck building where it's like, okay, maybe you're not doling out new rooms as much as I or as fast as I wish you would. So yeah,
mhm.
I think people that don't like these genres are probably going to come in here and be like, this is still mostly
Not for me.
yeah. Although I
Yeah.
do also at the same time, I'm gonna think it's going to convert a lot of people who never thought they would like one of these games
Okay.
before. So
Well, there
yeah,
you go.
it's yeah, let's call it it's my favorite game of the year so far.
Dang.
It's real special.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
really excited to try this. Also, like, this game is made for my husband. Like, he will absolutely love this game. I'm gonna, after this is over, go tell him about it, and then he will probably download it on Game Pass, and I will never see my rogue ally again.
I was trying it on Steam Deck for a while, and it was giving me these real bad problems where the controls would just stop
Okay.
working, and it happened. I'm
It's
like,
better with
whatever.
mouse and keyboard.
It's better with mouse and keyboard for sure.
Yeah.
They have improved it on Steam Deck, but boy, that experience where I was like getting to these major like breakthroughs of like, oh, I
Yeah.
found this room I've been looking for forever.
Uh-huh.
I'm solving this massive puzzle inside of this room. So I now
Yeah.
I understand, and now I'm like, I'm gonna get to see what that does. And right in the moment, the controls break, and I had no choice but
Oh my god.
to reset it, and there I couldn't
Oh.
save my progress or anything. It was
Oh.
so, and that something like that basically happened 3 times before I'm like, well, I just got to go play this on the PC.
Yeah, yeah.
It also didn't have cloud saves, so I couldn't like take my
Oh.
progress from the Steam Deck over to the PC,
Oh,
which
that's
was
annoying.
frustrating. Sounds like
Yeah.
they're gonna maybe add that as well. At this point, though, yeah, I highly recommend this game. It is pretty. It's very cool. All right, let's get into some of this other news. Oblivion is very likely going to shadow drop here pretty soon. It's supposed to come out. I mean, according to some other rumors I've heard, is like April, and it's April. It's April right now, Emma. That's the crazy thing. And it's like, okay,
No.
well, when are they going to announce this? Well, I've been told it's going to shadow drop here at any moment this month. So
Okay. I thought you were gonna be
yeah,
like, "At any moment today."
who knows? I don't know
Who
that. I
knows?
just know it's going to shadow drop here pretty soon. Um, what does that look like to you? Like this feels like a big game. It should be. They're remaking Oblivion, one of the Xbox 360's best games, one of
Yeah.
my favorites of all time. Feels like they could build a little showcase around something like this, but
I
no.
would have
Instead, they
thought
might.
so.
They might shadow drop it instead. I guess maybe there's an event that we don't know about. They could have a developer direct that they haven't said anything
Sure.
about, and they could shadow drop it within that. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't
Or
know.
maybe it really is just like they're gonna try this shadow dropping technique,
Yeah,
see what it's like to basically not spend money on marketing, for a game that already exists. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a new game. This is a re-release, remake, master to some degree of an old game. So yeah, I mean, I think that uh, I sort of applaud them in a way if they decide to just kind of put it out there in the world and test the waters on something that, again, like, this is a safe game to kind of try it with because obviously it's very beloved and and as you say should be a big deal. Um and yeah, like, this would be interesting. It would be an interesting move.
yep. I think that you're right. That this would be something. It still would be a test, even though they did do a shadow drop with Hi-Fi Rush. What was that?
Right.
2, 3 years ago now? Is it like 3 years ago? It was a while ago. Geez.
It
Uh,
was, but
that's
that's
smaller.
different.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Explain how it's different. Because I agree.
Well, because you're basically again, you're dealing with a game here that people already know and like.
Yes, they're
There
already
is some
converts.
they're already converts. Yeah, exactly. So that when you drop a game that is basically an unknown, that's very different than dropping a game that already has a following, already has a fan base.
Hmm.
So and is part of an established larger franchise. So when you are dealing with that versus something that's brand new, it's like, oh, this is interesting. Something that people already have an awareness of. It's like, whoa, I can't believe that they did that. It would be like Nintendo shadow dropping a Twilight Princess remaster on the Switch. You know what I mean? Like it's like in that kind of realm of this is something people already want.
Yeah, and Jesse Wells points out they did this with Ninja Gaiden 2, and it seemed to work really well in that case. I
Mhm.
think that we are at least, the very least, getting a sign here that this is something that's worked for them and they're going to keep doing
Mhm.
for these bigger games, anyhow. And Oblivion being I'm getting weird deja vu. I'm sure I've said all these words in this exact order before at some point, but yeah, I, with Oblivion, it's like even bigger because
Yeah,
there's an Elder Scrolls fandom that is very
exactly.
passionate. I'll never forget being in that room when that lady was just screaming for Elder Scrolls Online, and I'm looking around being like, I didn't know
Yeah.
people cared about this game. Turns out there's massive amounts of fans for Elder Scrolls who just that's all they care about. So
Yeah.
Oblivion is gonna be able to be like, okay, can this work for this kind of game as well as how it worked for Ninja Gaiden 2? And I think they've found that it didn't work so well for Hi-Fi Rush, or if it did, it maybe didn't work well enough. Yeah, I am looking forward to this still. I saw someone back a few chats back say, "Hey, if I don't see a bunch of goofy stuff from this game in my timeline, this is going to be I consider this a failure." And I agree.
Mhm.
They got to keep the jank of Oblivion. They got to keep
Yeah.
that sort of anything can happen magic, even if it's something goofy and broken. They need to keep
Yeah.
that because I think that's part of like what makes these games special. Is I want to explore, and sometimes that means finding a cavern I wasn't expecting and starting a quest I
Yeah.
didn't even know existed in the game. And sometimes it means a a creature hit me and I went flying 200 feet in the air and I
Yeah.
died. Either
Yeah.
way, I get a cool story out of it. That's what I'm after in these games. So I'm hopeful. I love
Yeah.
Oblivion.
Yeah, I mean, I was, the only Elder Scrolls I've played is Morrowind, actually, on the Xbox back in the day. I have
Hmm.
not played Oblivion, but again, it's like I do think that it is very important to keep that appeal of the goofiness, of the brokenness. You know, I just on semi-related in that it's big open world RPG, but I remember playing Witcher 3 and this was many years into Witcher 3 being out. I was late to the party on that. I like started reading the books and watched the TV show and I said, "You know what? I think I'll give this game a try." And I just remember being in a fight with a monster that it was like a low level kind of undead wraithy thing that I should have been able to take out in two blows, but the game glitched out. And it was invincible. I just had no chill.
It's how it goes sometimes. Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Nintendo isn't using anti-drift Hall effect sensors on
Oh,
Switch
I
2
just saw
joysticks.
that.
Yes, this just popped up. I think Kyle Orland over at Ars Technica posted
Yep.
this. After dealing with years of widespread reports of stick drift on the original Switch Joy-Cons, Nintendo watchers have been hoping the Switch 2 would make use of magnetic Hall effect sensors that avoid most of the physical wear and tear that caused the problem in the first place. Now, though, a Nintendo executive has confirmed that the Joy-Cons on the new console won't make use of the more reliable but more expensive technology. Joy-Con 2's controllers have been designed from the ground up. Nintendo of America Vice President of Product Development and Publishing, Nate Bildorf, told enthusiast site Nintendo Life in a recent interview. They're not Hall effect sticks, but they feel really good. Confirmation comes after Nintendo pointedly refused to offer details about the Switch 2's joystick hardware at a roundtable Q&A session attended by ours last week. Um, I think there was at some point a like speculation reporting and like people looking at shipping manifests and cost of goods delivered and being like, hey, it looks like they're going to have Hall effect sensors, and a lot of people, myself included, were hanging hopes on that being true. Um, this is not new technology. The Dreamcast had Hall effect sensors, and if people are wondering what these are just a different mechanism for tracking analog stick movement. And instead of an actual mechanism that moves around, it is a magnetic field that they can track kind of perfectly, and it doesn't degrade over time, at least not at the rate that a plastic mechanism does. So the Dreamcast controllers don't have drift, things like that. um, they are more expensive, but they're not expensive. Like, they are not actually expensive. They are just more expensive than the traditional analog mechanism. But every penny counts to these companies. So I'm not surprised to hear this, but I do think, I mean, it's a disappointment and
Yeah.
probably a mistake long run. Now, I'm sure they have done other things to mitigate against drift. Um, but the reality is, this saves them money now, and it does still kind of keep a little bit of that ticking time bomb in there, where eventually these things do wear down. You got to get a
They
new set of
do.
$90 Joy-Cons, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember, good old 2020 playing Animal Crossing, and I'm trying to frickin' dig some holes to plant my garden, and my character is just kind of slowly sliding
Yeah.
towards the ocean.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
it's annoying as hell.
Yep, and it's Nintendo was fully aware of the problem. They kind of extended warranties on Joy-Con last gen because it
Yep.
was just happening to just about everybody. Anything that had one of those analog stick mechanisms in there, we're seeing these issues pretty quickly. And without a
Yeah.
doubt, eventually it was happening to everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, we'll see how long these ones last. But like I did with the Switch One, I will likely buy some aftermarket Joy-Cons, some third-party
Yes.
Joy-Cons that have
Yes.
Hall effect sensors and a real D-pad and all that stuff, and just use those
Yeah.
instead. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Uh, Nintendo confirms you will have to pay to use the Switch 2's C button. This is a weird thing I didn't really think about. This is from Tyler Cope at Polygon. Cope at Polygon. Nintendo has made its own Discord-like chat app for the Switch 2, and it's going to charge you for it once the free period is over on March 31st, 2026. They're giving you a lot of months there. Game chat and the C button that activates it will require a Nintendo Switch Online membership. So what happens
Mhm.
if you aren't a subscriber and press the C button? Not much, Vice President of Player and Product Experience Bill Trennan told Polygon in a recent interview. You would be able to find out about the Nintendo Switch Online subscription there and get
Oh
a
my
sense of some
god.
of the functionality, he
Cool,
said.
cool.
Presumably, this is how you'd learn that the game chat works a lot like Discord video chat works on PC. You could talk with your friends in handheld or docked mode via built-in microphone and stream your gameplay to each other. There's even a camera you could buy to overlay overlay yourself with a stream on top of your
Mhm.
gameplay, and talk face to face with others. Yeah, what like okay, I get
Okay.
that the online functionality for all these platforms are now paid for console, but having a whole button dedicated to that stuff and then making it so when you press that button, nothing else happens other than you asking me for money
Yes, that's what I was
is
gonna say. This is an advertising button.
right.
This
It's
is
like
what you
those.
press
It's like the
C.
it's the Netflix button on my remote control for my TV,
Yes, that's
right? It's like
exactly what it is,
you
100%.
know,
No, I remember when it during the presentation when they said, "We've added a C button," and I was like, "Okay, what does that do?" Is that like, because remember the C stick on the, GameCube controllers? And I remember you would play Melee, and it was considered to be very cheap if you used the C stick to fight, because you could just
yeah.
kinda automatically combo. That is not the but now the C button is just pay for Nintendo Switch Online. Um, I was literally talking with my brother about this yesterday, and we're like, "Wow, the Switch 2 really added a whole bunch of functions nobody asked for."
Hmm. Yeah, I think this is stuff where I think most of it works backward from NVIDIA brings them tech, and they're like, oh, okay, well, this makes it so we can easily cut people's bodies out and place them over video. So wouldn't that be good for like for a video chat with your friends and all that stuff? And they also have voice clarity features that will get rid of some room noise and stuff like that. So we should make voice chat front and forward and make it an important thing. And it's like it just feels so out of place because every other system has had stuff like this for so long,
Yeah.
that switch to emphasizing it is weird, and but also still very Nintendo. Where like now we're doing it. You should care if you're a Nintendo fan, and a lot of Nintendo fans will care. But I don't imagine myself using like the let's all
Yeah,
get in a room and share our gameplay with one another feature on the Switch 2 exclusively
no.
many more times than like a handful.
Yeah, it is interesting though because it we're very in this world.
Yeah.
And so for us, we go, "W- this makes zero sense. We have Discord already." But
Yep.
there are certainly a number of people who, especially with Switch, which has, again, I think Nintendo just discovered about 10 years ago that the internet exists,
Mhm.
that's had poor online functionality. And now they're going, okay, we acknowledge the internet. And I think that there are probably a number of Switch users, more than we perceive, that are going, oh, this is cool because they aren't in this world. So they will pay for this.
Oh yeah. And well, I mean, like I'm definitely gonna be I already pay for this. I already have
Yeah,
Nintendo
I
Switch
already, that's true.
Online.
I already pay for this, but
Uh
I just don't foresee myself using it.
yeah, yeah. A lot of the features are, they're definitely superfluous to how I'm going to be using this thing for the most part. We will definitely make content where we are using some of the like, yeah, Jesse says the Mario Party live stuff where it's like iToy. Yeah, for sure, I'm going to be doing that. But it's I don't know. I think where it just kind of gets weird for me is, yeah, sure, you buy a phone and then you don't get a subscription, and the phone basically doesn't do anything. You can kind of connect it to Wi-Fi, but you hit that
Yeah.
phone call feature and it's just gonna open up, and be like, what do you want me to do? I'm not, you didn't
Mhm.
pay for anything, so this isn't gonna work. And it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense for my
Yeah.
phone. I don't love the idea of even like one step in that direction with the consoles, where it's like, hey, now there's a dedicated button that doesn't do anything unless you're paying us. Even though I'm definitely gonna be paying them because there's no way I'm gonna buy this console and not have Nintendo Switch Online. I'm going to have that.
Yeah,
And I need it for like online gameplay, something I will do a lot of. And then I like the
totally.
Nintendo Classics, something I do use frequently. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
have this, but it's just a weird thing to like lay it out and think about because it's just I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Latest on tariffs. So, God, last week, right after the Switch 2 event, Trump announced tariffs on every country in the world, including some that are only populated by penguins. That's a shoot. That's something that really happened.
Great
Um,
story.
yep, 10% tariffs on penguin shit. Uh, yeah, so the fallout from that was immediate but ongoing. No one likes it, like kind of across the board. I think, well, there's his sycophants, his biggest fans that are trying to justify it, but they don't
Mhm.
understand what they're talking about. And then the people who do understand, like all these executives that work at all these companies that have stayed quiet or showed up to his inauguration or gave him millions of dollars for his inauguration, trying to like curry favor with him so he wouldn't do stuff like this, clearly did not think he would actually go through with such extreme tariffs. They have all been caught
Yeah.
off guard. And it is, like we're talking about this stuff causing a recession. Like that's where we're at a macroeconomic level. As
Mhm.
far as hardware is concerned, Nintendo and really Sony and Microsoft, they are scrambling. They're kind of still playing the wait and see game. One of
Yeah.
the key things that Nintendo said a few months ago when asked about, hey, how are you trying to mitigate tariffs? They basically said, we've already built this in to our pricing because we shifted some production from China, the place that we know Trump wants to tariff, to Vietnam and Cambodia. Those are the countries that Nintendo mentioned by name. And of course, now those are two of the countries with the highest tariffs against them,
Yes.
46% and 49%. And that is for Vietnam and Cambodia. I think I might have mixed those up. But yeah, either way, it's upwards of almost 50% tariffs. Now, Vietnam has said, "Hey, what's going on?" The country is
Yeah.
lobbying Trump, saying, "Hey, we will get rid of all the tariffs that you say are the reason that this is happening if you get rid of the tariffs on us." Now, the weird thing there, and it's not weird at all, this continues to be just him not really know what he's talking about, where he says it's because of tariffs from other countries, but it's really about the trade deficit. He has reportedly been in conversations with world leaders telling them that if you have a trade deficit or a trade surplus with us, if we have a trade deficit with you, I consider that losing. And so I'm not going to get rid of tariffs until you get rid of the trade deficit, which is an insane thing. It's completely baffling because it makes no sense. The trade deficit exists because we have more money and we spend more money in those countries than countries with less money spend in ours. and it's not cheating. That's just how commerce works. So the idea that he's going to like back off of these things without a ton more pressure is very unlikely. And I think all these companies are recognizing, even if he does like go back on these tariffs now, there's nothing stopping him from implementing them again a month from now. He did that to
No.
Canada and Mexico, and Canada and Mexico is like, okay, even if he promises, right? Even if he makes a
Right.
bilateral trade agreement with Vietnam and Cambodia specifically, there's no guarantee he won't break those promises because he was the one that responsible for the new free trade agreement between Canada, Mexico, and the United States last in his last
Correct.
administration, and he immediately went against those in this administration, in this term. So I think
Mhm.
all that's sort of left, Emma, is price increases. They sort of have to just raise the price no matter what and
Yeah.
hope for the best, and then maybe lower the price here if those tariffs go away by,
Right.
I don't know, maybe okay, we've raised, let's just say we raised the Switch 2 by $100, and so
Mhm.
there's the system without the game for 550 and the system with the game for 600 now. Jesus. Um, and then, okay, the
Yeah.
tariffs go away. Well, how about this? We are going to get rid of the one that comes with the game. We'll just have the $550 one, and now we'll include Mario Kart with that. In
Right.
that situation, yes, I am talking about permanent price increases. But that's
Yes.
I don't think that they go away from those once they pull the trigger on them, Emma. Like, how are you viewing all this?
Yeah, I mean, Duolingo, of course, has already jumped on this of, want to save money on the Nintendo Switch 2, learn Japanese,
Hmm.
in the way that Duolingo is wont to do. Um, yeah, man, I don't know. I was just, looking at a can of Mediterranean style eggplant with tomatoes and onions that I got at Trader Joe's, made in,
I'm just going to pretend it was never real. I'm going to pretend that was
Brazil or
never an option
something.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's truly what it is, is that yeah, I think at this point, you are correct. There is no choice but to do a price increase, and hence why Nintendo has stalled on doing pre-orders because they just don't know what the price of these things are gonna be. And as you say, they could be priced one thing one day, and then Trump could be like, "Just kidding, I'm gonna reenact this," 56% tariff or whatever crazy amount it is, and because there's just no consistency.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
really what it boils down to.
Uncertainty is the only thing is certain, and so
Yeah.
you have to sort of imagine the worst case scenario and price it at that. And that's
Yep.
definitely how we got. It's one of the reasons we got to 450 in the first place. Is they're looking at a range of potential prices, and they're like, for if the tariffs do come, we want a little bit of a buffer. But even
Yeah.
just looking at all of our other reasons for raising prices, where wages have gone up because of inflation, components have gone up because of inflation, shipping, all this other stuff has gone up because of inflation, and then we want to have some risk mitigation built in, where we want to make sure if these tariffs do come, or if something bad does happen and it causes a shock to the supply chain again, we want to be on the higher end of the range of
Mhm.
what we can get away with. And so they went with 450 and 500. Clearly, what everyone agrees is about the highest they could have gone
Yes.
reasonably. And now they are immediately faced with tariffs that put into stunning relief just how unprepared that price actually is for the next
Yeah.
10 years. Now, you think 2, 3 years from now, we get on the other side of this, Trump gets distracted by something else, and the tariffs go away. Like, do they go back to the original price ever? Like, probably not. They probably don't ever
Probably
give back
not.
that, right?
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's like they almost need to have a safety net, so to speak, of,
Yep.
they have to price it at a certain amount, as you and I think that, your proposal of it's 550, without Mario Kart, it's 600 with, and then the tariffs change and you can do the 550 with Mario Kart
Mario
included, but
Kart
I
clearly
don't.
gives them a lot of like
It does.
a room to get creative with how they do
Yeah,
this,
it does.
right? Yeah.
It gives them room to get creative. However, yeah, I mean, I don't think that we're ever going to see it go below whatever the pricing is that they put it at of the without Mario Kart,
Hmm.
Like I just don't think we're going to get any lower than that, and that is truly partially to protect against loss that they would come up against in the event that, these tariffs go away and then they come back, and they cannot price it lower than that. They just
Yep.
can't.
Yeah, it's this is I mean, we were talking about us getting our video games, and of course, like we're talking about the
Yeah.
entire economies of countries like Cambodia
Oh
and
my
Vietnam
God.
that have
Yes.
just started like really becoming very enticing to all these major corporations. Come build your
Yes.
factories here, and
Yeah.
we're industrializing. Like this is it. Like we're ready to like join the world stage in a huge way.
Yeah.
Not that they haven't before, but it was really coming online in the last several years. And
Yeah.
tariffs like these completely wipe out all of that to the point
Completely.
where these companies will probably just leave that country if they continue at this rate.
Yeah, and that absolutely sucks.
It's disgusting to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's disgusting because this is the thing is that, oh, yeah, okay, we're going to create jobs in America, manufacturing jobs. We don't have the infrastructure for
Yeah.
manufacturing. It has not been part of the US it has not been a robust part of the US economy in terms of jobs in years. Like
It's like
this is
even if we could snap our fingers though, Emma, and magically have all those jobs back here, we don't have a God-given right to those jobs. I'm happy like they have like they're allowed to have jobs too. They're workers
yes,
too. I don't like just because there's
100%.
a someone imagined a border between us. Why am I supposed to be like, well, those jobs are bad and they should be over here? I'm just it's
Yeah.
nationalism and
Yeah.
like, as always with Trump, it's white supremacist nationalism,
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
I'm over
It's
it.
it's the I had this perfect example this weekend of and again the white supremacy, the racism that you see here where I was making something with, and I was like putting a little MSG in it or whatever. I was making like a fried rice or something, an Asian dish. And I said to my husband, I was like, "What was the thing that made us all turn on MSG for a while?" And it was that a single white doctor published an opinion piece on how it might have given him a stomach ache.
Yep.
And again, it's just, yeah, but like, and if it had been some ingredient that was a white people ingredient, it never would have gotten to the like anti, MSG is just it's just a kind of salt. It's just a kind of salt.
Yep.
Like, it, so
It
anyway,
was all racism. Yep.
yeah, it was all racism. And that is exactly what this is of the idea that, like, oh, the white people in America can do this better. No, we cannot.
Yep.
And again, you are completely screwing over these countries who have worked to build up
To
being
build stuff
able
for
to,
us.
yes, to build stuff for us. That's
Yeah.
exactly all you're doing is you're screwing over hardworking people who have built up the infrastructure to participate in the global economy.
Yep. Yeah. And it's you're right. Like even if someone did a thought experiment of like trying to get a Switch 2 factory up and running here in the United States, like in Ohio, like what would that look like? And it's like speed running it, you could probably get it done in about 2 years. And even then, that is if you accept that, which everyone does accept, you would not be able to make the chips or the LCD screen here. Like that would take way, way longer to get that up and
Yeah.
running. And by the time you did it, the technology would have moved on anyhow. So you'd have to you'd be retooling while you're also opening up these factories. Uh, and so it's like, well, the screen, probably the second most expensive part after the system on a chip, which is the most expensive component. And those are still going to be tariffed. So you're going to do all this work
Yeah.
and really not save all that much. You're not going to save any
No.
money because the cost of
No.
labor is going to be higher. So
Correct.
yep. It is, $600 switch to one way or the other. And then, if we keep like talking about Nintendo and be like, how are they going to get away with this? Here's the bad news. Everyone's raising their prices.
Yeah.
Everybody's raising their
It's
prices.
everybody raising their prices. I
Yeah,
mean,
the
because
PlayStation 5 is going to be up in price here in a little
yes,
bit.
even if your product that you're putting out is made in the US, chances are not every component of it is.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, for the by and large, it's not. Yep. All right. So I mean, the bottom line here continues to be no way out except for higher prices, and
Yeah.
so and that means higher inflation. It does mean
It was
that
really great
interest rates
buying
won't go
things while it
down.
lasted. Yeah.
Yep. We had a nice break there. It's coming back. All right, let's take a break. When we get back, let's get. Well, hang on. Let's see here. Someone added. And Nintendo says U.S. tariffs weren't Oh yeah, yeah. Nintendo says that U.S. tariffs weren't factored into the $450 price of the Switch 2. The tariff news is fresh, and like many companies right now, we are actively assessing what the impact may be. Yeah, that was Doug Bowser kind of talking, definitely just
Yeah.
saying, look, these tariffs were not factored into
No, of course
$450.
they weren't.
And really, like the $450 price tag is so complicated at a point. It's like, yeah, like tariffs are just one of many things we were mitigating against, like many risks that we were considering. Really, they priced these things at the price they can get away with. So $450 was at that price because they had all of these reasons where like, hey, tariffs and rising cost inflation, people are used to paying more. We're going to go for it right now. All right, so let's take that break. When we come back, we'll talk about Phil Spencer and Sony talking about Switch 2 and handhelds and all that right after this. All right, let's do this. Phil Spencer is very excited for Xbox handhelds this year. We've teased and talked about handhelds, and I'm very excited because we both travel, and sometimes you can't always take your console on your or your whole gaming desktop with you. But it's really about building the experience around the person, and that's what really got me excited. Xbox isn't one single device at the center. It's not one game, it is the player, making sure all of your games are available, all of your save games, all of your entitlements are available wherever you go. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of him reiterating more that they have a handheld coming themselves. So if people are interested in
Mhm.
that, don't worry, they have one. And he continues to make the point that it's about the Xbox experience on that handheld, which is what I'm most interested in.
Yeah.
So that's coming at the same time. Sony was also sending out surveys asking PlayStation gamers how they feel about the Switch 2. Sony was conducting a market survey to gauge interest in purchasing the Switch 2. The survey asks about the interest in the Switch 2 with opinions following also opinions about the Nintendo Direct and its announcements and the appealing aspects of the console. Basically going, hey, do you like this thing? Oh, if you do like it, what do you like about it? That is probably them trying to understand how many people in their consumer base are also going to be getting a Switch 2. Do you think there's a chance that they're also like probably working on a handheld and maybe they want to see what people like about it so it can help inform
Yeah.
what they design?
Yeah, oh, I think that's absolutely what's going on is, obviously the handheld console market is it's it was revolutionized by the original Switch, because previously it was you have your console that you play your video games on your TV, and you have your handheld, which for a long time was a completely separate set of games that were very specifically made for a handheld console. But with the Switch, the idea was, oh, well, you can take it handheld and you can also plug it into your TV and do it all in one. So now you kind of need to be able to offer your games in a handheld format. And sometimes for me, like for example, Steam Deck, Rogue Ally, all of the sort of handheld PCs, they're heavy. They're kind of a pain in the butt to travel with, to be
Hmm.
totally honest. Uh, and they have terrible battery life. But sometimes I just like to play on a couch at home, just like
Oh
lay
yeah,
there and
all
play
the
my
time.
PC games. So there is a lot of value in that. So it almost it has nothing to do with travel at this point. It more has to do with just offering the various experiences. So I think for PlayStation, yeah, it's like of course they want to know what people like about the Switch 2, what they don't like about it so that they can factor that in when they are developing out their own handheld console, which is almost certainly in development.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that both these companies will come to market with something that is going to be fun and interesting. They just are going to struggle up against finding those nooks of the audience that Nintendo already has on lockdown, which is families and children,
Mhm.
things like
Yep.
that. Even like slightly more casual players that show up for Animal Crossing and know that they can get their Stardew Valleys on the Switch as well if they want. Um, and in the meantime, Microsoft and Sony very hardcore focused, and so they will have to try to break through a little bit. I think
Mhm.
make it a super friendly experience will be the first step of that, but then I think both these companies will probably be looking at like, hey, should we be making more family friendly games to try to make more sense when a kid says, hey, I also want my own Xbox
Yeah.
Asus ROG Ally. It'll take some time to get to
Yeah.
that point. All right, let's see here. Marathon gameplay reveal showcase set for April 12th. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. Bungie will host the gameplay reveal showcase for science fiction player versus player extraction shooter Marathon on April 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. The developer announced you will be able to watch it on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. Marathon will be available for PS5, Xbox, PC via Steam, and a whole bunch of other stuff. They haven't announced the date, but I think it's still supposed to come out this year. This is one where I'm like, I had a source kind of tell me, hey, yeah, they're gonna reveal this next week. There are a bunch of like YouTube creators checking it out, and it's like, oh no, apparently it was more than just YouTube creators. So I had
Mm.
no idea. Like a bunch of like journalists were also there. But yeah, apparently a lot of people got their hands on with it. I'm looking forward to seeing what people actually think about this. My guess, Emma, is that Marathon probably makes a very good first impression. It's probably fun to shoot in that game because it's Bungie and they're very good at
Yeah.
that. And I think that's going to go a long way toward getting people to want to try this game. Extraction shooter,
Yeah.
though, do you think like the Bungie appeal is going to be enough to maybe get over the hump of like how that might be scary to some people?
I just sort of feel like, don't we have enough of these games where a bunch of people get in a game and shoot at each other?
Yeah, I mean, Bungie's not going to make
It's
anything else, but they also
No,
already
I
have
know.
one.
Look, I am not the right person to weigh in on this. This is not my kind of game. It just isn't. I'm a real single issue gamer, as we've established within Giant Bomb Chat. We no longer use the term casual. Yeah, I mean, look, I think this will make a great first impression. I think this is a game that a lot of people will jump into and play at the jump. Whether it can sustain or not remains to be seen.
Yep. Yeah. I think it'll be fun to play, and I will be checking it out at that point. But I'm very curious to see what everyone who got hands on with it ends up thinking. Uh, all right, here. Bloodborne's Switch 2 spiritual successor could come to PS5 yet at some point. Basically, this is from Sammy Barker at Push Square. From Software owns the Duskblood's intellectual property, opening up the possibility of a PS5 port in the future. While it's been confirmed that Nintendo has some kind of investment into the online-based Bloodborne spiritual successor, the Elden Ring developer submitted a trademark for the name in Japan recently. The official website also notes it owns the copyright. In fact, while the game will be published by Nintendo under license in North America and Europe, From Software will be self-publishing in Japan. So it sounds like one of those ones where it's like, a very close partner game, technically a first-party release because Nintendo is publishing it, but it's not even first party in all territories. And we've seen games like of this kind find its way to other platforms after a couple of years. In some
Mhm.
cases, it's as quick as a year, but in these like very close, hey, Nintendo's helping you publish or Sony's helping you publish, a lot of times it takes even longer than that. So this one feels like, hey, in a PlayStation State of Play 3 years from now, they announced, oh, by the way, the Duskbloods is coming to PlayStation 5 next
Yeah,
month or something like that. This sounds like that scenario to me. Do you think that's right?
I do think so. Yeah. I mean, it would be weird if this was only on Switch because your From Software audience is not on Switch. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Like they're
totally.
PC gamers, they're PlayStation, they're Xbox, like they are not Switch players. Yeah, I mean, I think that absolutely this will come to other consoles, namely a PlayStation would be a great place for it. What's really interesting to me is like I'm not hugely a From Software person, but uh this looks to me like a Dark Souls Castlevania, and so I'm all the way in. I'm so hyped for this game.
Yeah, I'm I'm
Um,
I'm very like hearing Miyazaki talk about it recently and him kind of giving
yeah,
details about like, it's still going to be mostly one of their games, and then there will be
right.
some player versus player elements to mix up all of that kind of gameplay. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sounds good to me. I want to
Yeah.
check it out. It's maybe not like Elden Ring is kind of my ideal game in a lot of ways, and it's not that, but I still have Elden Ring. I'll be fine. You're going to try something different. I'll be there to check it out. So yeah,
Yeah.
and people in chat are pointing out that as the story calls it a spiritual successor to Bloodborne 2. Yeah, I mean, or to Bloodborne. Yeah,
Mhm.
clearly it's going to have some changes to it. But you look at it, and I mean, it's called the Duskbloods. We know what they're going for here, and it's very likely maybe this is the direction they would have taken Bloodborne 2 in anyhow.
Sure.
And maybe that's why Sony didn't want it. Who knows? Or I really have no idea why they fell out. But um, I'm curious about this one. Really want to see it like
Yeah,
show
me
me the
too.
loop. Show me the loop.
Yeah.
Like I just want to see like what a player does from moment to moment. Is it mostly like a Soulsborne game and then it's just briefly interrupted by PvP stuff? Because to me that could really work. All
Yeah.
right. I think that's going to do it for the headlines. Let's get to the poll question. I have that over here, although it might take me a second to get it loaded. There we go. All right, we had a couple that we needed to catch up on. I think the first one that we needed to do was grade the Switch 2 Direct. 30% gave it an A, 44% gave it a B, 17% gave it a C, and 8% gave it a D or lower. I think, yeah, I think we did that one. We also had a newer one though. Are you going to get a Switch 2? Yes or no? God, that question's a little bit more complicated to answer now, isn't
Mm.
it? I'm gonna say yes because I know I'm gonna get one. 55% say yes, 45% say no. I gotta say that is probably not a number that makes Nintendo feel too good in this moment, and the high price clearly contributing to that. Also, a lot of people responding are just not interested in Nintendo games, but I think
Yeah.
the uncertainty of a potential price increase is also hurting the response for yes on this. Are you like where are you at personally? Are you like day one? You're going to try to pre-order kind of no matter the price? Are you waiting to
No.
see? Like, okay, so are you
I'm
waiting maybe till?
definitely
Yeah, go ahead.
a yes eventually.
Yeah,
I'm when do I need to get one for work so I can charge it to the company card?
there you
Instead
go.
of
Hell yeah,
instead of spending my own money on it.
that's
No,
a good
I mean,
move.
obviously, like I'm in a tremendously fortunate situation wherein there is a chance that I will just have to buy one, but fandom will be footing the bill. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not gonna go get one immediately with my own dollars. I just have to kind of wait and see.
Yep. I see Jan replying to comments, wishing people
It's
happy early
amazing. Like,
birthday. Yeah, this is good stuff. It's the way
I
to
just
way
bought a
just keep your
Wii
mind off
U.
things. Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, new poll question. I got it right here. Let's get to it. Are you interested in Blueprints after seeing its reviews? Yes or no? I am gonna be curious about this one. Definitely look and see. Take a look at the game yourself, everybody. I think I'll try to stream it at some point here on the site. I don't know if Dan could stream it today, but oh no, I think he's going to do Mirror's Edge. So I think I'll try
Mhm.
to do it on Wednesday for Grubb's Gimmicks. And I think my plan is I'm just going to show like one of my current runs
Yeah.
because I could avoid anything that would be spoilery.
Yeah.
And then anything that you would like encounter on your first run, the way I'm doing it at this point is going to be like, a lost language. It is not going to make any sense. And then like the drafting strategy is the thing that we can really talk about. That's something that could be we could shine some light on that, and that also would not be like some shocking spoiler to understanding the way the game works. The thing about this game is it's going to be hard to spoil because even when someone mentions something's in the game, it is going to be difficult to it's going to be difficult to like really figure out like how it works until you do it yourself.
Mhm.
Um, oh, we can't stream it. The stream
Till
embargo on Blueprints
Thursday.
is Thursday. Okay, well shit, then maybe we'll do it on Thursday. We'll see. All right, cool, good to know. Emma Fyffe, where can people find you on the internet and all that good stuff?
Well, on the internet, I'm on Blue Sky and I'm on Instagram, kinda. But mostly you can find me at the Costco, stocking up
Yeah,
on all the things that are gonna go way up in price.
yeah, hell yeah, let's go. Woo. Um,
Woo!
all right. So let's see here. Let's wrap this up. What else do we have going on the website? It's GB Kids Day. I believe Sean and Nikki are getting together to run some fun stuff here very soon. As soon as the show's done here, Dan will be back later with Mirror's Edge. I think Mike's making him play that because Dan doesn't like it and Mike doesn't get it. So I think Mike might sit in on that and watch him play some Mirror's Edge and try to force Dan to love it. That's always going to be a good time. Then tomorrow's the Bombcast. Wednesday we will not have blueprints, but instead we will have things like the return of Overblood. Light Club continues the most recent season. I would love to just finish that game, but I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, another episode of Blight Club. We should also have our friends over at GameSpot contributing to the Power Block pretty frequently all throughout this week. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, though, Emma Fyffe, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Stay tuned for more tariff talk.
Woo! Now, every episode from now on, everybody, it's unavoidable. All
Woo!
right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.